I'm going to make a double array machine, which is going to accept an array as its input. What do I mean by that? I want to make it that if I throw an array into the double array machine, it's going to give me an output of a similar array, except that every number in the array is doubled from what it was before. So if I throw in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I want to get an array back that is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Because 1 doubled is 2, 2 doubled is 4, 3 doubled is 6, etc. So again, in real life, would you ever need a function like this? Probably not. But the idea here is we can make functions that do anything. So this is sort of, like the Sneetches one, right? Like a starless Sneetch in and a starful Sneetch out. So an array in and a doubled array out. It's this magical machine that we're creating. So let me show you another trick. Again, I don't think we're going to learn any new concepts for this, but it's more about tips and tricks for dealing with these types of challenges. So just like what I said, so one trick we mentioned before is anytime you want to keep track of a sum, starting with a variable that starts out at 0 is a good trick to keep in mind. Anytime you want to do something like this, namely that you want to take in array as input and come out with some other array as output, very often you want to, before you start any loop, you want to create a variable that's going to be your new array that you intend to be your output, that you start out as a blank, empty array, an array with nothing in it. So the approach we're going to take here is that, again, we're going to loop through each of these numbers, but as we loop through them, we're going to double each number we encounter and shovel it into the new array. So by the time we're done, we will have this newly constructed array that is based on the data from the input array, but it's new. So really, there's two approaches we could technically take. We could try to take the original array and go into it and change each number and double it, but that's usually harder. This approach I'm taking is we're going to make a new array from scratch. It starts out blank. It's a list with nothing in it. And then we're going to, as we go through look at every item in the original array, we're going to throw in a new item into the new array and build the new array as desired. So let me show you what I mean, instead of just talking about it. So we are going to need to make a loop that is going to go through each of the items in this array. Now since, once again, we want to make this function flexible and work no matter how many items there are inside the input array, we're going to do that same trick as before, where we're going to say number of loops, we're making a new variable, is going to be the number of loops that we do is going to be determined by the number of items that there are in the input array. So if the input array has 5 items, we're going to run a loop 5 times. If the input array has 10 items, we're going to run this loop 10 times. And once again, we're also going to have an index variable that starts out as 0 to keep track of where we are in the loop as we go through it. So let's do our loop. Number of loops times do. The strategy here is we're going to loop through each of the items in the original array. To do that, like every other time we do this, we are increasing index by 1. Now again, just to show everyone what would happen if we simply print everything from the input array. Again, this is not our goal here, right? Is everyone, I want everyone to get very familiar with this pattern of the looping through an array. The way we loop through an array is you start a variable out at 0. I like calling it index. You have a loop that every time you go through the loop, it increases index by 1. In this example, I'm simply printing each of the items of the array. So we see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 come up here. The reason why there's an extra 5 here is not something I'm going to explain right now. But it's basically because of this, because we haven't finished doing what we're doing. But my goal here is not to print this out. Instead, my goal is to create a new array that doubles everything from the original array. So let's do it this way. I'm going to say new array. So this new array is this blank array that we established on line 2. We're going to shovel into the new array the number we're up to inside the original array times 2. So let's walk through this. So we're not done yet, but let's walk through this. Again, our goal here is that we're throwing in this function, an array. In this example, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the desired output is a doubled version of this array. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 in this example. So we started a new array out on line 2. And as we go through this loop, we check the input array index. Since index increases by 1 each time around, so input array index starts out as input array 0, and then input array 1, and input array 2. Basically, going through each of these items, right? Input array 0 is the 1. Input array 1 is the 2. Input array 2 is the 3. We're basically going through each of the items in the array. We multiply it by 2, and then we shovel that result into the new array, throwing it at the end. Recall again that when dealing with the shovel operator or an equals operator, everything to the right of it processes first. We take that result and then throw it into the whatever's on the left-hand side of the shovel operator. So Ruby first processes array index times 2. In our first round of the loop, when input array index refers to the 1, this is as if we said the number 1. So 1 times 2 is 2, and we throw that into the new array. The next round of the loop, where index is 1, it's as if we said input array 1 times 2. Input array 1 is 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. We take the 4 and we throw it into the loop. So by the time we're done, the new array should be filled with basically the doubled values. So we can say output is new array and then return output. And this actually works as intended. My point here is just to demo some more complex examples of functions. So again, the function here is the double array machine. The idea is we throw in an array, and we want a doubled version of it. So let's try another example. I'm going to try 5, 2, 1, 17, -6. So if I run that, that works. I could throw in as many items as I want. And again, my function is flexible because of this trick I showed you today of the number of loops times, which we got from the input array.length. Again, each time we go through this loop, we go through each number in the array. We take its doubled version, shovel it into the new array, which started out blank. But as we go through it, we're shoveling new values into the new array. We eventually return that new array as the output of this function. Yeah. Yes, that is correct. We could simply say return new array, and it does the same exact thing. I'm just, for the sake of really driving home the concept that an array always has an input and an output, I'm making this a little more explicit. Programmers in day-to-day life will do it your way, Shane. They won't do what I'm doing here, but I'm trying, for the educational piece of it, I'm making it super explicit. That we're saying this new array that started out as blank, but by the time we got through the loop, we added all the doubled values to it. That new array is now going to be our output from this function.